Hey.
Alright, so as I hope many of you have come to realize or learn by this point, I'm a fan of the whole NBA in general, but deep down, I do ride with the Boston Celtics. That's who I grew up watching. It just is what it is. And early in this offseason, the Celtics made a pretty big trade, trading longtime heart and soul of the team Marcus Smart for Kristaps Porzingis. And at the time of the trade, when I first saw the Woj notification, it felt like a shotgun blast to the chest. I was depressed. I was down bad. But since then, as I've had time to stew on it, and as you'll see, watch some Kristaps Porzingis film, just more and more of it. But yeah, the more I watch, the more I'm starting to fall in love with the idea of adding Kristaps Porzingis to this team, even though it does mean losing Marcus Smart again, which will be very weird to see him in a Memphis Grizzlies uni, but that's just the way the NBA rolls. Now, Kristaps Porzingis, I feel like he's currently underrated in the league. His first 4 years with the New York Knicks were very exciting. He was, booed on draft day and ended up being an all-star level guy, ended up making an all-star game before tearing his ACL back in 2019. He would then be traded to the Dallas Mavericks to pair up with Luka Doncic, where he had some of his worst years of his career. Obviously, coming back from injury, I also just don't think it was a great, fit for him position-wise, because he just was not. Him and Luka just didn't really mesh that well. As much as I love Luka Doncic, that duo just did not work. But then he gets traded to Washington. I think he had to have sort of a mental change once he got to Washington, that he can't rely on the athleticism anymore that made him an all-star in New York. And he changed his game. He became more of a shooter and more of just, a sit back, play drop and pick and rolls and defend the rim kind of guy. And it worked out with him, as he had a career year last year. He played his most games since his rookie and sophomore years, had a career high in points per game, was still at 1.5 blocks per game, was grabbing rebounds, was hitting threes, and may I add, has been a very underrated free throw guy for the past couple of seasons, which, if y'all know, I am huge on guys getting to the foul line. He's around 6 free throws a game, and he's hitting them at 85%, and that's just really solid. I'm is it bad? That's like one of the things I'm most excited about for him coming to the Celtics. Anyway, another reason I'm excited is because this is the first time in Porzingis' career where he's truly a third option. Obviously, New York, he was the main guy. Dallas, he played second fiddle to Luka. Washington, you can make the case that he was a third option, but between, Beal, Kuzma, they were both kind of hurt a lot of the time, at least Beal was, but hopefully KP being a third option in Boston, that'll let him focus on defense a bit more. He doesn't have to worry about creating shots, although I bet he'll do plenty of that because that's just what KP does. But he shot 39% on catch and shoot threes. I imagine there'll be a lot of those coming from Jason Tatum. Maybe even some from Jaylen Brown if he takes a leap in that playmaking category. So the cool thing about Porzingis in Boston is in the Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown era, the Celtics have never had a good offensive big men. They've had guys like Al Horford who can shoot, pass, and put the ball on the ground a little bit and be a connector type player. But they've never had a big man who they could just give the ball to and say, go get us a bucket. And that's pretty much exactly what Kristaps Porzingis is. Washington loved running him at the top of the key, near the foul line, top 3-point line area. They'd post him up there. He was a great playmaker from that spot. He'd hit guys on backdoor cuts a bunch, and I would love to see Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White continue that trend. I was very pleasantly surprised at how many times Porzingis dropped a nice backdoor bounce pass or just a nice pass in general, where I was like, damn, he's got some good playmaking IQ, offensive IQ out here. I also appreciated that he was very quick in his decision making. But at the same time, when he had the ball and he knew he was going to ISO and go for a bucket, he was very patient, and he's good at drawing fouls. He's good at getting leverage on the opponent. He's got a lightning quick release that he uses to just shoot over the top of defenders. And, you throw all of these things together, and it makes him a pretty unstoppable offensive player when he has it going. And I already mentioned how he shot 39% on catch and shoot threes this past season. I don't think that does him enough justice. This guy will pull from anywhere. He pulls very early in the shot clock, sometimes from the top of the key as the trail guy. And I know at first Celtics fans are probably going to be pissed off by this, because it's just a shot that very few people take in the league. But hopefully he doesn't start missing too early, because this is a shot that Porzingis can actually take and make. And it might seem like a bad shot, because it is kind of a bad shot, but it's a shot that Porzingis takes and makes, and it'll probably take a little bit getting used to for Celtics fans. But the best part about his three-point shooting is that you really can't sag off of him at all. Even just a sliver of space is all Porzingis needs to, receive a pass and get that quick release off for a three. And again, it's not like he's a bad three-point shooter. He's a really good three-point shooter. And again, this is going to stretch the defense out even more for guys like Tatum and Brown to attack the rim with more ease. And one other underrated thing that I saw from Porzingis is he's actually pretty adept at putting the ball on the floor and attacking closeouts, which is something that not a lot of big men can do. Porzingis is able to do it, even without some of the athleticism he showed off earlier in his career. He still has enough juice left that if someone closes out too hard, he can pump fake and go by them, especially when he has, bigger guys guarding him. It's tough for them to close out on him, just like it's tough for him to close out on them. This also helps keep Porzingis, non-one-dimensional. He's not just a shooter on offense. He's not just a spot-up guy. He's someone that defenses have to respect when he puts the ball on the ground, because Porzingis has shown he can drive it to the rim. He's even has some Euro step type adjacent finishes. I'm not quite sure if I can call them Euro steps. And if you give him an open enough lane, he will still throw it down with emphasis. Now, the obvious knock on Porzingis, and I think a big reason why people didn't like this trade, especially, Celtics fans, is that Marcus Smart has been holding down our defense for the better part of the last decade or so. And while Porzingis isn't a bad defender, great rim protector, he's had multiple seasons above 2 blocks per game. There's also the catch that if you put him out in space on the perimeter, he becomes a lot less useful. But that's not to say that he is trash defensively on the perimeter. He has his moments where he's able to, slide with the offensive guy on drives and, reject shots from behind or just keep him in front and play good defense. But at the same time, he will get cooked every now and then. And you just kind of have to accept that, unfortunately. Anyway, what I envision the Celtics doing with Kristaps Porzingis is I think they could put him into that Brook Lopez mold that the Bucks have been running for the past couple of years, where it's a taller guy that can protect the rim, play great drop defense, can shoot threes on the offensive side of the ball, but you're just going to have to live with him getting cooked on the perimeter every now and then, because that's just a chance you take. Regardless, I do feel like Celtics fans will be harsh on the defense at first, when in reality, Porzingis is not a bad defender at all. And I'd actually say he's a good defender. He's just not as good as Marcus Smart. But Celtics fans have to realize that we're giving up defense for more offense here, and that's a perfectly okay thing to do. And the last point I'm going to make here, obviously the health has been a big red flag for Porzingis so far in his career. I already mentioned how he tore his ACL back in 2019, missed the entire season, and he's never, outside of his rookie year, he's not played more than 65 games in a season, which, 65 isn't bad, but the fact he's only done it 3 times in his 8 years in the league so far is not a great sign either. But a quick thing I wanted to point out in addition to this is if you go back and start tracking from the 2020 season, so, his first year back from the ACL injury, if you compare him and Marcus Smart, Kristaps Porzingis played in 216 games from 2020 to the current day, whereas Marcus Smart played in 240. So obviously 24 games is a pretty sizable difference, more than a quarter of a season. But at the same time, I think that difference is a lot smaller than people might imagine, as Marcus Smart spent a lot of time hurt too over these past couple of years. Either way though, the trade's done, it's been done. Porzingis is officially a Celtic, Marcus Smart is not anymore. I'm ready to ride with this team. I think Porzingis giving them an extra boost offensively while not being a huge step back defensively will make this team dangerous once they get right again. If I had to predict right now, I bet the Celtics probably get off to a slower start to the season, and people will probably write them off and forget about them. Then, sometime around, middle of the season, All-Star break, they'll probably go on a big run, start to put things together, and it'll take a little bit, but people will finally start saying, hey, maybe the Celtics are on to something here. The thing I'm most intrigued about, to wrap up this video, is how Porzingis plays, rotationally, because it's going to be him, Al Horford, and Rob Williams basically being the big men for the Celtics team. Porzingis and Al should be a great duo. Al Horford is great defensively, can plug pretty much into any matchup the Celtics want him to, and they can hide Porzingis on the weaker offensive player. You could also run Porzingis at the 5 with, Tatum or another wing at the 4 if you want to go for some small ball. But I'm most interested in how this Porzingis-Rob Williams lineup's going to look like because, the Wizards ran him with Gafford and other bigs in the past. But Rob is like a big. And, it's going to be the Celtics with 2 7-footers out there. I think you can get away with that now with the league opting for more big men at the 4 position. Plus the fact that Porzingis plays out on the perimeter for the most time on offense. But yeah, I have this feeling that the Rob Porzingis duo is either going to be really effective or really trash. And I can't really wait to see it. But that's enough of me talking about the new Celtics edition Kristaps Porzingis. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. All of those good things. Follow me on Twitter at KokinosNoah. Have it in the description. And most importantly, hope you all have a good one.